Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Trudograd with me, BringItDon. Get here to talk to the people of the machine factory. The guard watches your every move. His piercing glare is starting to make you uncomfortable. Don't you have a job at the factory? Yeah, I do. How do you like working here? Could be better, little buddy. Relations between the workers and management is quite tense. If nothing bad happens, I'd hate to have to pick a side. What can you tell me about this place? The pride of Trudograd, the only major industrial complex left in the city. It didn't even stop production during the war. Anything interesting happened lately? There was a story going around, unrecommended for the superstitious. A local scientist, our engineers constantly pestered for help. Goryachev disappeared some time ago, was never heard from again. It all started with strange figures appearing to him in the night. Men in black who followed him wherever he went, always just at the edge of vision, behind corners, in the ventilation. My guess is they scared him so bad, he started drinking and left town. I can't figure any other reason for him to disappear. Do you know anything else about him? Nope. That old man was not a people person. The only time he spoke was to whine about the food in the mess hall, or to explain his theories when the engineers asked for help. Nobody here even knows where he lived. Got any rumors for me? I'm going to tell you a truth instead of a rumor. We had to bury a real good worker recently, Yura, crushed under a pile of timber. Some Chinese fellow ordered him to bring logs to the brothel. A lot of logs. Something about uncovering the meaning of life. Yeah, I don't get it either, little buddy. Still, Yura agreed to it. We had this huge pile of timber in the courtyard. He tried to pull out the lowest log in the pile, and the whole thing collapsed on top of him. Now, he never learned the elusive meaning of life. Or did he learn it already? Was that the whole point? I see. Guess I gotta check some stuff out. Alright, so first thing I'm gonna do is go talk to this one guard that did not want to talk to us at night. Just so I don't forget. I think it was this one. Obviously, bored guard paces to and fro. When he notices you, he stops and stands straight like a proper soldier. Greetings. So what can you tell me about your boss? Comrade Spiridonov is second in command at the factory. Not the worst guy, if you can believe it. I see. So how's your shift going? My shift sucks. I hate standing here like a statue all the time. I wish something would happen. Oh, something is bound to happen real soon, comrade. Something, dare I say, revolutionary. You make a face at Blaze and she gasps, and hides behind your back. Yeah, like what? Nothing ever happens around here, except for some workers telling off management. What can you tell me about... Yeah, what can you tell me about the factory? I was gonna say nothing ever happens around here. Then I remember that a guy who looked exactly like Lenin used to work here. Spitting image of the old leader himself. Half of Trudograd came to get a look at him. Unfortunately, he loved to drink and play cards. He borrowed money from some unsavory folks, eventually lost his last ruble and skipped town. I wonder, where is he now? Heard any interesting rumors? Looks like a former magician is working as a cook in the factory mess hall. Can you imagine? Does he know sorcery is forbidden in Trudograd? They must be a risk taker then. Anyway, I should get going. Alright, let's track down all the people standing outside first. There's that person that had the broom last episode. It was that person in black that was walking. The broad-shouldered laborer reluctantly stops his work to lean on his broomstick and nod to you. Good health to you, master. I'm not going to chase you away. You shouldn't have come up to me in the first place. Come on, I just wanted to ask a couple questions. I don't know what you expect to learn, but go for it. What's your name, dude? Call me anything you want. Don't call me late at night when I'm resting. Ha ha ha. Anyway, my name is... Mahi? What do you do here? I sweep and I clean. You can see for yourself. Somebody has to keep the paths clear, or people would be breaking their butts on this ice. Just like that. Boom. What do you think about Trudograd? If nothing was keeping me in Trudograd, my wife, children, around 15 cousins, I would have left long ago. Maybe one day I'll gather my family and just start driving south. Yeah, that sure would be nice. Care to share any rumors? Have you heard? Tony Calamari, local gang leader, Recently got whacked in Great Corner, like the filthy dog he was. A good bandit is a dead bandit, as far as I'm concerned. We'll talk about something else. You say so. When we first met, why did you say I was making a mistake by talking to you? You got a problem with me, huh? Nah, no problem with you whatsoever. I said it because talking to a kinda old fart like me is a waste of time. A weathered traveler like yourself would find a tree stump better company. I never leave town or visit the brothels. I don't watch movies. So what are we going to talk about? My broom? The weather? The broom is adequate, and the weather is colder than a banker's heart on foreclosure day at the orphan's home. Why don't you go to brothels, man? You a faithful husband? Not only that, I had a bad first experience. 10 years ago, a lady of the night stopped me on the street. She asked if I was up for an hour or two of fun. I went up to her room. A sofa, table, a couple of chairs. The curtains reached all the way to the floor, so we had total privacy. We put some music on the tape deck, and went to the kitchen to fetch a bottle. I decided to check if I had enough money on me, you know, for services. I dropped a ruble on the floor. When I got down under the table to grab it, the next thing I remember is running down the street away from the apartment, screaming my lungs out. What spooked you? When I bent down, I noticed the toes of 5 or 6 pairs of men's shoes peeping out from under the bottom of the curtain, and the rightmost one was tapping to the beat of the music. Shrug. Got it. What else can you tell me? Anything else? The janitor absentmindedly scratches one stubbly jowl. Eventually he flinches, as if coming to his senses again. Nah, sorry. That's enough horror stories for today. I have to get my work done before the snow covers everything up again. I won't distract you. See you later. I swore I saw someone in black wandering around outside. Maybe they're going from building to building? Wait, I didn't see this before. Or are these back here? What is the famous Jefferson Starship? They make this flying saucer in the factory. Let's see, a flying saucer. Alright, let's go to the cafeteria. We can speak to Zora the Inquisitor about the quest. The Mummy's Curse, see if he has anything to say about it. And visit any other patrons of the cafeteria. Zora, Inquisitor, Necromancer, and Cook of High Renown, continues bustling around the kitchen as if nothing happened. He nods lazily as if you two were old friends. Hey. So he buys a lot of the junk. That's cool. Oh, that's too much. Alright. I haven't really needed water yet, so I'm not going to hold on to it, I don't think. plump, busty woman of about 40 rests her short, thick arms on her sloping sides and frowns. In a dense vernacular, she says, "You're gonna put some food on that breadbasket of yours. Since you're not a worker, I have to charge you. And one more thing. No talking about politics, you hear?" You answer a couple of questions. "Sure thing, son. When someone's kind to me, I'm kind in return. Ask away. What's your name?" Euphrosynia is the name. A name from the good book, it is book. What? A name from the good book, it is book. Okay. What do you do for a living? I work in the buffet, bossing with Chef Zora around. Get a sniff of that delicious smell. Ah, just like in a French bakery. There's an outhouse next door. What can you tell me about the factory? It's an okay factory, I suppose. I'm not interested in such things. What am I, like, an academic? I get paid for what I do, and the money helps support my husband and child. That's about it. Do you have any rumors to share? Did you hear about the trouble our Turner Idolin got himself into? And he trusted his apprentice with some expensive blanks. The no-good kid took him and ran off. Do you think management will take that for an excuse? Nope. They'll make... His name is Idolin, not Idolin. Idolin pay for the loss. Understood. Let's talk about something else. Plum puts her hands on the table. It seems as if the whole building is swaying in time with her plump body. What do you think about the situation at the factory? Nope. You won't get me talking about politics. Normal people don't talk about that. We keep our heads down, we work hard, and we don't need no nonsense, you hear? Here, all manner of ideologues are treated like precious little babies. In my home village, conversations with their ilk were short. We sent them out to the steppe and let them find their own way home. Where did that tradition come from? It was the winter of '93, cold as a witch's breast in a brass bra. Hungry too, the hunters had barely enough game to feed their own families. There was hardly anything for the rest of us. But one day, lo and behold, some old geezer comes out of the forest, dragging a sled behind him. On this sled there's a game of all kinds, dried berries, and even a bag of onions. Around 50 kilos of food in all. Our elder fell on his knees, begging him to trade for the food, but the old man said there was no need for that. "This here's a gift for y'all," he says, "and all I'm asking in return is you listen to what I have to say." What was this old dude like? Basically Santa Claus. A bushy beard, tall as a pine, around 2 meters if not more. The elder invited him straight into his home. So what did he want to tell you? The elder recounted it later as best he could. At first the old man talked about himself. Said he lived nearby, between the black trees. Never involved himself with our village's affairs. When he saw how tough this winter was, he took pity on us and decided to help. Though he added that even with the provisions he got us, we have to bury at least half of the little ones and told folks by April. Oh, and old folks, not told. That is, if we didn't accept some kind of change. What did he mean by change? Wait, what do you mean he lived between the black trees? Our elder asked him the same thing. The old man told him he was willing to take some of us to the black trees and teach us his survival science. Except, he said, all of us would be able to understand his teachings. Told the elder to put the village children in his keeping, that he'd teach them so good they'd be able to feed the rest of us till the warm weather returned. I don't understand. What's he planning to do with the children? Nothing good, I suppose. That's not the whole story. Not yet. Before our guest had even finished his proposal, our elder went mad as a March hare. He pushed the old man down and threw an oil lamp in his face. The graybeard lit up as if he'd been doused in gasoline. The hut caught fire as well. The elder managed to escape, and when he did, he blocked the door so the visitor couldn't follow. The poor man burned for 6 hours in that gosh darn inferno. Screamed as a banshee, all the way till the end. Wait, 6 hours? How can somebody burn for 6 hours and still be alive? Go and ask him, why don't you? We didn't understand it either. Hut's windows had already shattered, the roof collapsed, he was still screaming. Not even shaming us for burning him alive, despite the gifts he'd brought. Outright hollering like the unholy himself. The sounds are borderline inhuman. Despite there being no wind that day, the surrounding trees bent to the ground as he screamed, and the forest hummed in reply. I see. So did you survive the famine? The old codger's estimate was right on the money. Most all of our old folks died that winter, and our neighbor's baby boy. God, that was a sad year. Yoder sounds like he had a few loose scruples as well. Why did he set his guest on fire? Like I said, Yoder went crazy in the coconut that day. When he escaped the hut, he mumbled and muttered like a lunatic. Something about the old man's shadow. Then you saw that shadow, you'd understand why I did it. Poor fellow froze to death later that winter. How does this story relate to your dislike of politics? Well, that's the thing. An official from Trudograd had turned up instead of that old-timer. He had official-looking papers in his briefcase, and a nice tie around his neck. We'd probably give in to his request, and let the village heads go with him into the forest. That's what politics do to people. It makes them compliant. That's quite the tradition you got. Sniff and say nothing more. Woman falls quiet and gives you a displeased look. She's probably not happy that you made her recall that awful story. Alright, thanks, but it's time for me to leave. Those are some of the best stories in Adam. That's like my favorite part of the Adam games. You get like these little, almost eldritch stories from people. Just random NPCs too. And some of them are really good. Alright, I think that's the person I saw walking around outside. Hunchbacked 40-something-year-old man is drafting a detailed blueprint. His pencil squeaks across the page while the ruler dances and a jig in his other hand. His expression is vacant. His badge reads, I Merdvago. Without looking away from the schematic, he asks, which department are you from, and what do you require? Just looking around is all. I wanted to ask a few questions. I believe I can spare a few moments of my time. Then tell me, what's your name? My name is Inokenti. Please call me by my last name. That is the custom here. And what are your duties here? I'm a project leader. Management requires some new contraption. They ask me. I design the schematics and write up the project's milestones. Then the workers produce the item in the shop. I'm also the leader of the small but friendly engineers union. What can you tell me about the factory? It's a wonder this glorious giant survived the early 90s. Even if my colleagues would prefer to forget, the main reason for the factory's survival is the current government. Without them, we'd go the way of poor old inverter, which disappeared in a single night. But we stayed online. Now we're producing machines that roam all across the wastes. Know any good rumors? Some time ago, much of my trainees unearthed a host of pre-war documents. They discovered that beryllium, an elusive radioactive mineral studied only in top secret government facilities, was mined not that far from Trudograd. The secret mines are located some way to the east. And that's a factoid, am I right? Well then, can we change the subject? Ravago agrees with a polite nod. He says this conversation is not to his liking. I want to ask about the schematic you're working on. What is that thing? Ravago's eyes start to shift around. He quickly covers his technical drawing with one hand. What business is it of yours? I have you know that the TMF-14 throw-up is my personal hobby. Nobody ordered me to create it. I only work on the project during my free time. Today, for example, and yesterday, and 2 days before that, and last Friday night. It's just friendly curiosity, buddy. Don't worry. In that case, take a look. The schematic isn't finished, but it's easy to see what it represents. If you still have questions after you looked it over, I'll do my best to answer them for you. You bend over the table and closely examine the schematic. It seems to portray a peculiar war machine. The base is that of a T-34 tank, but is propelled by a screw instead of tracks. A giant hydraulic apparatus is mounted onto the tank's chassis. This device resembles a huge human hand, wearing an equally huge white glove. What's this? You don't understand. This is the answer to all of Trudograd's troubles. Old technologies are rising up from nuclear oblivion. Soon, Even the lowest Wasteland tribes will have their own missiles and air defense systems. Throw up the TMS-14 throw-up as they catch these missiles as they fly towards the city and toss them back at the enemy. The device will throw projectiles at ultra-low altitudes, avoiding most anti-air defenses, rendering its payload invisible to radar. We don't need this machine right now, but in the future, it will be the savior of Trudograd. The savior from who? Who are you planning to use this thing against? There's plenty of evildoers in this world. Wild bandits, mutants of all sorts, cultists, radicals, postmen. Forgive me, but a better question would be, who am I not planning to use this machine against? Okay, but why is it wearing a glove? This glove protects the intricate machinery of the hand. In addition, it simply makes the throw-up that much more elegant. Catching rockets and throwing projectiles are only a few of its functions. It will also be used in military parades, and to shake hands with high command and salute our glorious leaders. I've heard enough. Can we change the subject? Rodvago agrees with a polite nod. Alright, we've already read that. Listen here, Rodvago. I've got a very important mission for you. The survival of the factory depends on it. Blood drains from Rodvago's face. He stops what he was doing and glances at you, disturbed but ready to hear you out. Are you talking about the upcoming strikes? I swear my honor as a scientist that my union's members will do nothing during the unrest. I'm even willing to commit it to writing if you wish. Wow. Just wow, Donnie. Can you believe this guy? What? What are you talking about, ma'am? Tisk tisk tisk, Rodvago. I was sent here to ask you to do the opposite. The opposite? Listen. I'm a meek person who values peace and solitude above all. With the merest nudge, I can be made to agree to anything. You can intimidate me into saying I'll support the strike, perhaps by contorting your face into an unpleasant expression. Your efforts shall be in vain. As soon as you leave, as soon as I am safe, I'll betray my false promise and maintain my loyalty to management, and rat you out to the authorities, to boot. Is that clear? Hold your horses, little man. You haven't heard my arguments yet. Don't waste my time. Spin your fantasies about a bright future with strong government and universal workers' rights someplace else. Between hypothetical future and the real, current day stability, I'll always choose the latter. That's that. I'll just have to find some other means of changing your mind. Okay. So I'll have to figure that out. You find a short young woman poring over a pile of diagrams. She mutters softly to herself, making small notes on a pad. Every now and then sips from a thermos of some suspicious smelling liquid. Indicating her thermos. Is that good? Uh-huh, it's called Pure. My grandfather brought it back from somewhere in the east. It smells like dust and stale socks, but this thing is more invigorating than coffee. I sipped this will of yours in my rebellious youth, and now I purge my guts. No Soviet man, woman, or child should drink such a thing. Now, Schiffer, on the other hand, aged in dirty cups, richly infused with blood and sweat, as an imperial drink to be sure. It is simply a matter of differing tastes. Turns to you. Don't listen to him. You should give it a try. A shrug. Why not? You pour a little of the dark drink into a mug and take a careful sip. It doesn't taste so bad, but it's nothing like the tea you're used to. Interestingly, after a few sips, you really do feel more energetic. Huh, it's not bad. Yep, my grandfather had a stock of ingredients to make it. Only now they're almost used up. I'm used to drinking it constantly. I don't know where to get more. I can ask you a couple of questions. I sometimes take breaks. We can talk then. Gotcha. Okay, get back to work. We didn't see her walking around, so I wonder when she takes her breaks. The worker has been leaning against a wall, smoking, since you last saw him. Livens up noticeably when he spots you. Hey, hold on. I've heard your argument with Rodvago. I have some intel that might just make him switch sides. Wait, you're one of us? Keep it down. So you're interested in my information, comrades? Why do you care about such things, dude? Well, apart from yearning for a worker's paradise in Trudograd, I also despise Rodvago on a deep personal level. Well, that's a reason. Okay, tell me what's on your mind. You saw that Rodvago does all day. He sits around drawing imaginary tanks, making funky calculations and stuff. Living the high life as usual. Now, can you imagine his desk jockey sneaking out to the docks under cover of night carrying a mysterious valise? How about venturing to a rundown shack, like a secret rendezvous for illegal business? Yeah, I can imagine it, but why? Because he was doing exactly what I described for a couple of months, and he recently stopped. I followed him a few times and saw everything. He retrieved a suitcase from a hole in a tree just beyond the factory perimeter and took it to an abandoned building in the docks, near the jewelers. There he used a lantern to signal 3 times and went inside. Minutes later, some dude knocked on the door and joined him. I don't know what came next, but you have to agree the whole rigmarole was pretty suspicious, especially for a guy who usually does nothing but work and sleep. My advice, check out that place. It's easy to find. The signal lantern is still hanging by the front door. Maybe you should try using it to signal yourself. Something shady was going on in there. It could be a way to find dirt on Mervago. Find a shack with a lantern by the door and flash it 3 times at night. Okay, I'll check it out. Thanks. The man gave you valuable intel on Mervago. Looks at you hopefully. So, do you dig up some filth on that darn coward? First things first. Tell me why you're here. Isn't it obvious? It means my right to smoke a break, as stipulated in the Factory Labor Protection Act. As far as I know, it hasn't changed since the last century. It states that all factory workers have the right to a half-hour break for every 2 hours of work. What kind of employee would I be if I didn't follow the rules, huh? I'm risking my health here, smoking so much during all these mandatory breaks. Heh. How's it you haven't been fired? Just let him try. I'll go straight to the leader of the engineers union. You can imagine how much Mervago is willing to ignore to avoid any disruption to his precious peace and quiet. Then again, he hates my guts. Good thing nobody knows I'm skipping work. I don't have a direct supervisor like some of the others. And the factory big shots only require monthly reports. Well, if all you're doing is standing here for half an hour at a time, I really have no reason to fire you. Actually, I've been here since early morning. See, I didn't find out about the smoking rules until I'd already worked here for 6 years, so I'm making up for all the half-hour breaks I missed. Ignorance of the law doesn't mean you shouldn't follow it. I got you, partner. Well, let's talk about something else. Alright, can you tell me about the Mervago business? Later. First, a few questions. Anything for a fellow revolutionary. What's your name, comrade? Andrei Karaga. Nice to meet you. And what are you doing around here? My pencil driver is just like Mervago, with a lower rank. I push papers hither and yon, prepare sketches for new products. Sometimes I organize a surprise party for people's birthdays. That's the most important part of my job. And what can you tell me about the factory? The injustice heaped upon the laborers here is an awful burden. The board of directors seems to have totally forgotten about us workers. Too bad. For them, that is. Because once our patience runs out, they're going to get their comeuppance. Know any local rumors? The old-timers once told me this factory used to have a sub-basement, before it sealed off and all production got moved to the ground floor. It makes you wonder if the other factories in the city, like the late Great Inverter, also had underground levels. What were they making down there? Simple folks like you and me will never know the answer. Only a stalker or an Atom agent could find out. Okay, alright, I see. Let's talk about something else. And that's the end of the chapter. Farewell. I think it's just the one other guy in here. So we'll speak to him and then we'll call it an episode. This gray-haired worker is staring glumly at his lathe. Is he suffering existential angst? Maybe this is just his working phase. While you struggle with your doubts, the man takes the initiative. Don't you have a job? What are you looking at, boy? You know, I just wanted to ask you a few questions. The man shoots you a distrustful look, but quickly relaxes and nods in agreement. Oh, she's on break. I suppose there's no harm in a quick conversation. What's your name, buddy? The name's Eidolon. It's short for Ideology of Lenin. Don't ask. My parents are devout communists. What are you doing now? I'm just twiddling my thumbs. But, don't repeat that to anyone, okay? Tell me what you know about the city. You want the long answer or a short one? Give me the long version. I often think back on the first few days after the bombs fell. The third and fourth days to be precise. Back then, the local authorities broadcast only two pieces of information, one good and one bad. The good news was that Trudograd's air defense system had neutralized all the bombs targeting the city. The bad news is that no other town in a 1,000-kilometer radius had that system. Even Moscow had gone radio silent. I vividly remember I was at the general store with my then girlfriend, listening to the news through a loudspeaker. She was crying, but I felt alive. Of course the circumstances were horrible, but it was also a chance for a new beginning. You know what I mean? I wanted to do something, help the survivors, start rebuilding. The humdrum duties of day-to-day life killed all those aspirations. I was only playing a hero when deep down inside, I was a straight-up hustler like the rest. And the city is the same. It talks the talk, but forget about the walk. Know any interesting information? If you want to see something interesting, go visit Armin in his workshop. That's just to the left of this place. Laymen see his brass man, they think it's a statue, but it's actually classified technology from back in the day. You put a whole person inside that gosh darn thing. Oh no, she's off break. Well then, care to change the subject? Yeah, okay. What's with the face? You look like someone just ran over your dog with a dump truck. What's there to be happy about? The fact that my apprentice stole the tellurium ingots I was given for a contract? How in tarnation am I going to make those screws now? Let's start with the stolen ingots. Tell me about them. They're just regular metal blanks, but from tellurium. 10 of them were issued to make 10 self-tapping screws. Look. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a silver cylinder about 7.4 centimeters long. As soon as you see it, you're overwhelmed by a weird, inexplicable nostalgia for a time you've never known. The tellurium's metallic luster mesmerizes you, calling you somewhere with its harmonious song. So the worker returns the ingot to his dirty jumpsuit. You shake your head to dismiss the uncanny sensation. I hear you. So what exactly is the problem? The problem is that my apprentice stole half my tellurium blanks. Nobody's seen or heard from him since. I never should have trusted that whelp. All covered in weird tattoos. Instead of a normal name, he calls himself Wet Willie. Sheesh. Now he and the ingots are gone. I'm left here with the responsibility. I could help you locate them. Are you serious? Okay, if you are, look for Wet Willie in Great Corner. I'm not going near the place myself. Even by Trudograd's low standards, there's too many of them around. You know who I'm talking about. Man's shoulders slump. He starts hopping about and growling like a troll from the land of fairy. Seeing your confusion, he stops cavorting, reluctantly explains. I'm talking about the gosh darn Northerners. If you don't mind their company, go find Willie and get those ingots. To sweeten the deal, I'm gonna give you a little something something when you return. Something valuable, I hope. You'll find out in due time. Don't worry, I won't disappoint. Okay, we've got a deal. Shake hands and leave. Okay. I'm gonna call the episode here. Off camera, I'm gonna wait for her to go back on break, and what we'll do is we'll try to intercept her at the beginning of the next episode and ask her the questions we want to ask. And then we'll continue exploring the machine factory. We only have, what, the one building left? No, there's two buildings. The office building, and then that building with the cage in the center. For now, I'm gonna call it here. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.